Hey, and welcome back to JBC English Learning Academy. My name is Laura, and I'm here to guide you on your journey to clear, confident, and natural English. If you truly love your ma'am, then like the video, subscribe to the channel, keep watching the video, and comment on how much you love ma'am. Your support truly helps this channel grow. Alright, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin today's session. In this story, I want you to imagine a quiet morning, a very simple morning, the kind of morning anyone can have, and maybe you have had a morning like this before. The sun is not too bright, the room is still calm, and the world has not yet asked anything from you. There is no noise, no hurry, no messages, no responsibilities calling your name. It is just you, a chair, a small table, and a book. And maybe, for some reason, it feels like a good day to begin something new, something small, something gentle. You open the book slowly, almost like opening a window to a new world. And in that moment, without even knowing it, you are building a new habit, a habit that may change your English, your thinking, your confidence, and even your life. But of course, you do not know that yet. Right now, you are simply turning a page. This is the story of Maria, a young woman who wanted to improve her English, but who always felt tired, busy, and unsure about the best way to practice. She tried many methods before: videos, podcasts, grammar books, conversation apps, and even speaking with friends online. All of them helped a little, but she always felt something was missing. She could repeat phrases, but she could not remember them. She could learn new words, but she could not use them naturally. Sometimes she felt confident, and other times she felt lost again, like starting from zero. Maybe you have felt like that too. Learning a language can sometimes feel like walking through a long, foggy path. You know you are moving forward, but you cannot see how far you have come. One evening, after a long day, Maria met an old neighbor named Mr. Benson, a calm man with silver hair and soft eyes. He was sitting on a wooden bench in front of their apartment building, reading a small book. He looked peaceful, almost like he was traveling somewhere far, even though his body was right there in the warm evening light. When he closed the book and smiled at her, Maria asked him a simple question: "Why do you read every day?" He laughed a little and said, "Because reading gives me something that no one can take away, my own mind." Maria did not understand what he meant, but something about his answer stayed with her. That night, she sat on her bed and looked at her phone, ready to watch another English lesson, but her mind kept replaying the old man's words. My own mind. What did that mean? How could reading be that powerful? She opened her drawer and found an old English book she bought long ago but never started. She held it for a moment. It felt like a small object, but also like a small promise. She opened the first page. She read slowly, very slowly, sometimes stopping on a word she did not know, sometimes repeating a sentence until it felt natural. And something surprising happened. She enjoyed it. Not because she understood every word, not because she remembered everything, but because reading made her feel peaceful. It made her feel like she was learning at her own speed, in her own space, without pressure, without fear. The next morning, she woke up earlier than usual, feeling a quiet excitement. She made a cup of tea, sat by the window, and opened the book again. She read for 10 minutes, then 15, then 20. Every sentence felt like a small step forward. She was not studying English, she was experiencing it. The book did not judge her. The book did not rush her. The book simply waited for her to move at her own pace. And that was the first moment she realized something important. Learning English does not always need to be loud, fast, or difficult. It can be soft. It can be slow. It can be calm. As days passed, Maria continued reading every morning. At first, she felt unsure. Is this enough? Will I really improve? But every time she finished a page, she felt a tiny spark of confidence. She understood more than the day before. Words began to feel familiar. Phrases began to sound natural in her mind. She even found herself thinking in English during small moments of the day, something that had never happened before. This was new. This was growth. And the most surprising part was that she was not pushing herself. She was enjoying the process. One morning, something interesting happened. As she reached the middle of the book, she found a sentence that she understood completely, without guessing, without checking a dictionary, without stopping. It was a simple sentence, nothing special, but to her, it felt like a discovery. She felt a warm sense of pride. She whispered the sentence aloud, then again and again. She felt a new energy inside her, a kind of quiet motivation that did not shout but whispered, "You can do this. You are learning." That moment changed everything. From that day, reading was not a task. Reading became a habit. And this habit became a part of her identity. But habits do not become strong without challenges, and of course, Maria faced some too. One weekend, she felt too tired to read. Another day, she woke up late and had no time. Another day, she felt frustrated because a chapter was too difficult. She almost gave up. She thought, maybe I am not good enough. Maybe this is too hard. But then she remembered Mr. Benson's words, "My own mind." She realized that the habit was not about being perfect. The habit was about showing up again, even after missing a day. So the next morning, she returned to her chair, opened the next page, and began again. Slowly, she noticed something new. Reading was not only improving her English. Reading was changing the way she felt during the day. She felt calmer. She felt more focused. She felt more confident in conversations because she had more language inside her mind. Her sentences became smoother. Her thoughts became clearer. She could listen to English better because she recognized patterns from the books she read. And she found herself speaking more naturally, without forcing it. Reading was shaping her English the way water shapes a stone, quietly, patiently, gently. One windy afternoon, she went to visit Mr. Benson again. He was sitting on the same wooden bench, reading the same small book. She sat beside him and said, "I started reading every day because of you." The old man looked at her with warm eyes and smiled. "Ah," he said, "then you have opened a little door." "A little door?" she asked. "Yes," he said, "a door to a bigger world. A world inside yourself." She felt confused again, but this time, she smiled too. Because she could feel the meaning, even if she could not fully explain it. As they talked, she told him about her progress, how she felt more confident, how she enjoyed reading, how she felt her English growing slowly and naturally. The old man listened carefully and then said something she never forgot. "Reading helps us understand others. But it also helps us understand ourselves." She thought about this as she walked home, feeling a new sense of inspiration. She realized that books were not only teaching her English. Books were teaching her patience, imagination, and discipline. Books were teaching her to slow down, to think deeply, to listen to her own thoughts, and to trust her own voice. Over time, Maria's daily reading habit became part of her routine. It became as normal as brushing her teeth or eating breakfast. And something beautiful happened. When she traveled on the bus, she read. When she waited at the doctor's office, she read. When she felt sad or stressed, she read. When she felt happy, she read. Books became her companions. Books became her teachers. Books became her quiet friends who always welcomed her back, even if she missed a day or even a week. But the biggest transformation happened one evening when she visited her younger cousin, who was struggling with school and feeling insecure about learning English. The girl said, "I'm not good at English. I don't understand anything." Maria recognized the same frustration she once felt. She took a small book from her bag and handed it to the girl. "Try reading this," Maria said. "Just one page every day. Slowly. No pressure." The girl looked unsure, but Maria spoke with a calm and confident voice, the kind of voice she never had before. "Reading helped me," she said. "Maybe it can help you too." That night, as Maria walked home, she felt something deep inside. It was not pride. It was not excitement. It was something quieter. Something stronger. She realized she had become a guide, just like Mr. Benson had been for her. And she understood something important about learning English. The journey is not only about speaking correctly or understanding perfectly. The journey is about becoming a person who believes in themselves, who takes small steps every day, who grows slowly but surely. Reading had given her this gift, and now she was passing it on. And if you are listening to this story right now, maybe you can feel a small part of Maria's journey inside yourself. Maybe you also want to read more. Maybe you want to feel more confident in English. Maybe you want a simple habit that helps you grow quietly every day. If so, then this story is your little door. A door you can open today, tomorrow, or any day you choose. All it takes is one book, one page, one quiet moment. And you may discover a new world inside yourself too. Her final reflection was simple but powerful. "When I read every day, I grow every day." Not fast, not loudly, not perfectly. Just honestly. And that is the takeaway of this first part of the story. Reading is not only an activity. Reading is a path. Reading is a gentle way to improve your English and also improve your mind. It is slow, but it is strong. It is simple, but it is deep. If you read every day, even a little, you will change without even noticing you are changing. And one day, like Maria, you will look back and realize you have moved farther than you ever imagined. In the days that followed, Maria's simple morning reading time slowly began to shape not only her English skills, but also the way she felt throughout the day, the way she noticed the world, and even the way she understood herself. It was surprising to her because she had never thought that reading, something so quiet and slow, could create such a big change inside her life. But every morning, as she turned the pages of her little book, she began to notice small shifts happening in her thoughts. She felt less rushed. She felt more patient. She felt more curious. It was as if reading had become a gentle teacher, guiding her softly without pressure, helping her grow in ways she did not expect. One morning, she woke to the soft sound of rain against her window. The sky was gray, the air was cool, and the world outside looked peaceful and sleepy. Normally, a rainy morning made her feel tired and slow, but that day she felt something different. She felt excited. She reached for her book before she even got out of bed. She opened it, still half wrapped in her blanket, and began to read. And for the first time, she felt something she had never felt before. She felt like the book was waiting for her. She felt like she was returning to a story that belonged to her. That feeling warmed her heart in a quiet way. As she read, she noticed how her eyes moved more smoothly across the sentences. She noticed how her mind recognized words without effort. She noticed how English was no longer a stranger, but a friend she was getting to know. And that morning, while listening to the rain, she understood something important. Reading every day was creating something inside her, a new voice, a new rhythm, a new understanding. It was not loud. It was not dramatic. But it was steady and deep, like the sound of rain touching the earth. During the next few weeks, she continued exploring her book, one slow chapter at a time. She sometimes underlined a sentence that felt beautiful. She sometimes repeated a phrase out loud, feeling the gentle shape of the English words on her tongue. And sometimes she closed the book and simply thought about what she had read. Reading began to feel like a conversation, a slow, quiet conversation between her and the writer, between her thoughts and the story, between her doubts and her hopes. And in that conversation, she felt something powerful. She felt safe to learn. But reading every day also brought challenges. Some mornings, she woke up late. Some evenings, she felt too tired. Some days, the story confused her. And there were moments when she questioned herself. Am I improving? She asked. Is this helping me? Why is it taking so long? These questions made her feel uncertain. But every time she asked them, she remembered something Mr. Benson once told her. Growth is not loud. Growth is quiet. And with that thought, she returned to her book again. One Saturday afternoon, Maria decided to walk to a small local library in her neighborhood. She had seen the building many times before, but she had never gone inside. When she stepped through the door, she felt a strange mixture of excitement and nervousness. The library was warm and bright, filled with rows and rows of shelves, each holding stories, knowledge, and voices from many different places. She felt like she had walked into a quiet forest made of words. She walked slowly between the shelves, touching the spines of books with her fingertips, feeling the gentle weight of their presence. As she explored, she began to realize something beautiful. Every book was a door to a different world. Some were doors to adventure. Some were doors to mystery. Some were doors to knowledge about people, nature, history, or places she had never visited. And she understood something very important about reading. Books are not only tools for language. Books are windows to life. She found the English section of the library, a small but colorful area near the back. She picked up a book with a soft blue cover, then another with bright red pages, then another with a picture of a quiet village in the snow. Each book felt like a promise. Each book felt like a small journey waiting for her. In that moment, Maria felt something she had not felt in a long time: curiosity. She realized that reading had opened that feeling inside her again, like a forgotten light turning back on. She chose 2 simple English books to take home, one storybook and one short collection of reflections. The librarian smiled as she handed them to her, and Maria felt a soft pride in her chest. She felt like she was taking responsibility for her growth, like she was choosing her own path, not because someone told her to, but because she wanted to. When she arrived home, she made a cup of warm tea and opened the first book from the library. The story was simple, but it pulled her in immediately. She felt as if she were walking beside the characters, hearing their voices, feeling their emotions. And as she read, she noticed something surprising. Her pronunciation was improving. Her reading aloud sounded smoother. Her confidence was growing. She was not only reading with her eyes, She was reading with her voice, her heart, and her imagination. Over the next few days, she began to understand one of the biggest benefits of reading daily. Reading increases your input. It feeds your mind with real English, natural English, emotional English. And the more your mind receives, the more it learns. Slowly, gently, quietly. Reading is like planting seeds inside your brain. At first, you see nothing. But slowly, something begins to grow. One evening, while reading her new library book, Maria came across a paragraph that explained how the main character felt lost in life and did not know what path to choose. The words touched her deeply. She put the book down and stared out the window. The sky was dark and the streetlights outside glowed softly. For a moment, she felt connected to the character in the story. She thought, I feel like that sometimes too. And as she reflected on this, she realized that books do more than teach language. They teach empathy. They teach you how to understand yourself and others. Reading helped her understand her own emotions better. It helped her understand that feeling lost is normal, feeling uncertain is normal. Books gave her comfort. Books reminded her that people everywhere experience similar feelings, dreams, fears, and hopes. And this understanding made her feel less alone. A few days later, she met her friend Clara at a small cafe near the town square. The cafe had soft music, warm lights, and the smell of fresh bread. As they sat down, Clara noticed the book sticking out of Maria's bag. You're reading a lot these days, Clara said with a smile. Maria nodded and felt a quiet pride. Yes, she said. It helps me feel calm. And it helps my English so much more than I expected. Clara looked curious and asked, how? Maria thought for a moment and said, because reading gives me time. Time to think. Time to understand. Time to feel the language, not just memorize it. Clara nodded slowly, impressed by the clarity in Maria's voice. As they talked, Maria realized something else. Reading had improved her confidence in speaking English aloud. She could express herself more clearly. She could find the right words more easily. She could build sentences more naturally. And she could talk about ideas, not just simple daily things. Reading had expanded her world, and with that expansion came new confidence. Later that week, Maria went back to the library. She returned the books and borrowed 2 new ones. The librarian noticed her and said, "You're coming more often now." Maria smiled and replied, "Yes. I think reading is helping me understand English and also understand myself." The librarian nodded with a warm, knowing smile. "Books do that," she said. "They change us in ways we don't always see right away." As Maria walked home with her new books, she felt a soft breeze on her face. The sky was a gentle pink, the day almost ending. And as she walked, she thought about how much she had changed in such a short time. She felt more patient. She felt more focused. She felt more connected to her thoughts. And she realized that reading daily had become a small anchor in her life, keeping her steady even on difficult days. But one of the biggest realizations came one night when she was reading a chapter about a character who overcame a difficult challenge. The story showed how the character grew stronger through small steps, not big leaps. As she read, Maria suddenly understood something. She put the book down and whispered, "This is me." She realized that her English was improving in the same quiet, steady way. Not with big jumps, not with sudden magic, but with daily pages, daily moments, daily effort. In that moment, she felt grateful for the books, grateful for the habit, grateful for the gentle growth happening inside her. She felt like reading was not just an activity anymore. Reading was becoming a part of her identity, a part of her story. And that is where her reflection grew even deeper. She realized that reading daily does not only improve your English. It improves your thinking. It improves your imagination. It improves your focus, your memory, your patience. It helps you slow down in a fast world. It helps you listen more deeply, not only to English, but to life. Reading became her quiet space, her peaceful time, her place to grow. And she understood something that she would carry with her forever. When you read every day, you feed your mind. And when your mind grows, your life grows. This is the quiet magic of daily reading. There is a moment in every journey when the person who started is no longer the same person who continues. Something changes inside them, sometimes loudly, but more often quietly, like a soft light growing in a room where everything used to feel dark. This moment came to Maria one peaceful evening when the world outside her window seemed calm and her mind felt open, ready, almost waiting for something new. She was sitting at her small desk with a lamp beside her, its warm yellow glow touching the pages of her book. She had finished another chapter, slowly turning the last page with her fingertips, and as she closed the book, she felt something gentle inside her, a thought, a realization, a knowing. It was the quiet understanding that she had become someone different from the person she used to be. This transformation did not happen in one day, or in 1 week, or even in 1 month. It happened through tiny moments, through daily pages, through slow mornings and peaceful evenings, through patience and curiosity. And yet, on that evening, the change felt clear. She could see her old self, the version of her who felt lost, frustrated, unsure about how to learn English. She remembered the days when she felt embarrassed speaking, when her words felt heavy and stuck. She remembered the times she wanted to give up. And then she looked at who she was now, a person who read every day, who understood more, who could express her thoughts with clarity, who felt calm and confident. She realized that she had not only improved her English, she had grown as a person. She leaned back in her chair and took a deep breath. The air felt cool and refreshing. She looked around her room and saw how reading had slowly changed her space too. There were books stacked on her desk, a small notebook where she sometimes wrote her reflections, and sticky notes with short English phrases that she loved. Her room had become a little reading sanctuary, a place where she could learn, explore, think, and dream. And she felt grateful for that. The next day, she woke up early and walked to the town park with one of her books in her bag. The sun was rising, the birds were singing softly, and a gentle breeze moved through the trees. She found a bench under a tall oak tree and sat down. She opened her book, and the moment she began to read, the world around her seemed to become more colorful. Every word felt like a step into a new moment. Every sentence felt like a soft reminder that learning does not need to be stressful or rushed. It can be peaceful. It can be joyful. It can even be beautiful. A few minutes later, a young boy came running past her, laughing as he tried to catch a small paper airplane. His grandmother walked behind him, smiling warmly. The boy stopped for a moment, looked at Maria's book, and asked, "What are you reading?" She smiled and said, "A story in English." The boy tilted his head and asked, "Why English?" Maria thought for a moment and answered, "Because every time I read in English, I learn something new. Not just about the language, but about myself." The boy didn't fully understand, but he nodded politely and continued playing. His grandmother, however, understood deeply. She looked at Maria and said, "Books can change you in ways you don't expect." Maria nodded. I'm learning that, she replied. As she read, she began to notice how reading had changed the way she saw the world. She found herself paying more attention to little details, the sound of the wind, the feeling of sunlight on her skin, the expressions on people's faces. Reading had trained her mind to observe, to imagine, to reflect. And this awareness made her feel more connected to life. She felt present. She felt awake. Later that week, Maria was invited to help her younger cousin with English homework. When the girl opened her notebook and asked, "Why is English so hard?" Maria smiled gently. She recognized that question. She had asked it herself many times. She took a deep breath and said, "Maybe English feels hard because you're trying to learn everything quickly. But you don't need to learn fast. You just need to learn every day." Her cousin looked confused, so Maria took out one of her simple English books and opened it to a short, easy page. They read together. Slowly, calmly, without pressure. And after a few minutes, something beautiful happened. The girl smiled. Not because she understood everything, but because she understood something. Maria realized that this was the power of reading daily. It makes learning feel possible. It makes it feel human. It makes it feel like a journey you can continue, step by step. And as she helped her cousin read, Maria felt proud, not only of herself, but of the small gift she was giving someone else. Reading had given her something precious, the ability to guide others. A few days later, something surprising happened at Maria's job. Her manager invited her to a small meeting with a new international client. Maria felt nervous at first. She had never spoken English in a professional meeting before, but she remembered how reading had helped her. She remembered the phrases she had repeated aloud. She remembered the gentle confidence that had grown inside her. So she took a deep breath and joined the meeting. At first, she listened more than she spoke. But then, when a simple question was asked, she answered. Her voice was not perfect, but it was clear. Her words were not advanced, but they were natural. And each time she spoke, she felt a small spark of confidence, the same spark she felt when she understood a sentence in her book for the first time. After the meeting, her manager smiled and said, "You did well." Maria felt warm inside. She realized that reading had prepared her for this moment, quietly, slowly, but effectively. That night, she sat by her window with a new book from the library and thought about everything that had happened in the past few months. She thought about Mr. Benson, sitting on the bench with his small book. She thought about her cousin learning slowly. She thought about the little boy in the park, the librarian's smile, the meeting at work, the moments of growth, the moments of doubt, the moments of joy. And she realized something important. Reading had not only helped her learn English. Reading had helped her build a life she was proud of. She began to think deeply about why reading every day had transformed her so much. And slowly, the reasons became clear. Reading gave her structure, a calm daily routine that made her feel strong and stable. Reading gave her focus, a quiet space where her mind could rest from the noise of the world. Reading gave her language, a flood of natural English that slowly filled her thoughts. Her speech, her confidence. Reading gave her connection, a bridge to other people's emotions, stories, lives, and ideas. Reading gave her imagination, a world inside her mind that she could visit anytime she wanted, and reading gave her hope. A gentle reminder that even small habits, practiced daily, can lead to big and beautiful changes. She closed her book and let these thoughts settle in her heart. As she prepared for bed, she whispered to herself, I am proud of who I'm becoming. It was the first time she had ever said that. And it felt true. Not because she was perfect. Not because she understood everything. But because she showed up every day. She kept going. She kept reading. She kept believing in the quiet power of her own mind. The next morning, Maria returned to the bench outside her apartment building, hoping to see Mr. Benson again. And there he was, sitting peacefully with the same small book. She sat beside him and said, "Your words changed my life." The old man smiled softly, closed his book, and said, "No, my dear. You changed your life. I only gave you a key. You opened the door." Maria looked at him, her eyes warm and grateful. "Then thank you for the key," she said. "And thank you for showing me that reading can change a person." Mr. Benson nodded gently. "Remember this," he said. "Books give us new worlds, but reading gives us new selves." Maria let his words settle inside her like a soft melody. She knew she would carry them with her forever. As she stood up to leave, she felt a sense of peace and purpose. She realized that reading daily was not a temporary habit. It had become part of her identity, part of her growth, part of her life. She was no longer the girl who felt lost in English. She was someone who grew through reading, someone who believed in slow progress, someone who understood that small steps, taken every day, can lead to beautiful places. And so, this story ends with a simple truth, a truth that Maria learned, and a truth that you can carry with you too. When you read every day, you build a stronger mind, a calmer heart, a clearer voice, and a more confident you. You improve your English one sentence at a time. You shape your thoughts one page at a time, and without even noticing it, you begin to grow in ways you never expected. This is the life you build when you read daily. A life of patience. A life of understanding. A life of growth. A life you can be proud of. There is a moment in every learner's journey when the path ahead begins to feel bigger, wider, and more open than ever before. This moment came to Maria on a quiet Sunday morning when the sunlight entered her room in a soft golden glow, touching the walls, her books, and the small cup of warm tea she held in her hands. She sat on her bed, looking at the books she had collected over the past few months. Some were thin and simple. Some were slightly more complex. Some were filled with short stories, and others were full of reflections or dialogues. All of them held memories of mornings she had spent reading slowly, evenings she had spent thinking deeply, and moments of growth she had not even noticed until later. As she looked at them, she felt something gentle and strong inside her. She felt proud. Not because the books were impressive or difficult, but because they represented a journey she had walked with patience and with heart. She reached for a new book she had borrowed from the library the day before. It had a soft cream-colored cover with small drawings of windows on it, almost symbolic of how books had become windows into different worlds for her. She opened the first page and began to read, feeling that familiar warmth of entering a new story. But as she read, she noticed something special. She was reading faster than usual, not because she was rushing, but because the language felt more natural to her. She could follow the story without stopping too often. She could feel the rhythm of the sentences. She could sense the meaning without needing to translate every word in her head. It was a small moment, yet it felt huge. It was like a quiet doorway opening inside her mind, showing her that she was no longer a beginner reading slowly out of necessity, but a growing reader moving at her own comfortable pace. As the days passed, reading became more than a habit. It became a lifestyle, something she did not only in quiet moments, but in many parts of her day. She read while waiting for the bus. She read during lunch breaks. She read before going to bed. And something interesting began to happen. The characters from the stories stayed with her even when the books were closed. She found herself thinking about them while cooking dinner or imagining their feelings while walking to work. And she realized that reading was helping her understand people better. It was helping her understand life better. One warm afternoon, Maria decided to visit a small bookstore on the edge of town. She had passed by it many times before but had never gone inside. The sign above the door said, "Stories for every soul." That message alone made her smile. She opened the door and was greeted by the soft sound of a bell and the warm smell of old paper and fresh ink. The bookstore was cozy, with wooden shelves lined with books of all shapes, sizes, and colors. There was a small reading corner near the back with 2 armchairs, a lamp, and a tiny round table. The atmosphere felt peaceful, almost magical, like time moved more slowly inside those walls. Maria walked through the aisles, running her fingers gently along the spines of the books. She stopped at a shelf labeled Simple English Readers. There were many books designed for learners like her, adapted classics, short novels, easy stories with rich messages. She picked up a book about a young girl who traveled the world to discover herself. She turned the pages slowly and read a few lines, feeling that familiar spark inside her. As she continued browsing, an older woman approached her with a friendly smile. "First time here?" the woman asked. Maria nodded. "It's very peaceful," she replied. The woman laughed softly. "Yes, that's what books do. They make the world quieter." She looked at the book in Maria's hand and said, "That's a good one. Many readers find comfort in that story." Maria smiled, feeling understood in a small, meaningful way. They talked for a few minutes about books, learning, and the beauty of slow growth. Before Maria left, the woman placed a thin bookmark in her hand. It had a simple quote written in neat letters: "Read a little every day, and your world will grow in beautiful ways." Maria looked at the words and felt them settle deep inside her heart. It was such a simple sentence, yet it captured the entire meaning of her journey. When she walked home with her new book, she felt light, almost as if each step was guided by quiet inspiration. That evening, she opened the book and began reading on her couch. The story was about adventure, courage, and discovery. And as she turned each page, she felt something new. She felt brave. Reading made her feel stronger. Reading made her feel capable. Reading made her feel like she had a voice. And in that moment, she understood something that she had never realized before. Reading every day had given her not just language skills, but emotional strength. It had helped her build inner courage, the kind that grows slowly and gently. A few days later, Maria faced a stressful situation at work. She had to prepare a short presentation for her team. She felt nervous, unsure, and slightly overwhelmed. Her hands felt cold, and her mind felt noisy. But then she remembered something she had read in one of her books: a character who calmed herself by breathing slowly and imagining she was inside her favorite story. Maria tried this. She closed her eyes for a moment, took a long breath, and imagined herself sitting under the oak tree in the park with her book, feeling peaceful and grounded. And surprisingly, it helped. She felt lighter. She felt clearer. When she began her presentation, she spoke slowly and calmly. Her English was not perfect, but it was confident. And after the meeting, her manager approached her with a warm smile. "You're improving," he said. "I can hear the clarity in your voice." Maria felt her heart fill with pride. She knew that reading had played a big role in this moment. It had helped her understand rhythm, emotion, and expression in English. And more importantly, it had helped her understand herself. Weeks turned into months, and Maria continued reading every day. She finished more books, visited the library often, and sometimes even shared reading recommendations with her friends. She felt like a different person, more centered, more confident, more curious. And one day, something unexpected happened. She received a message from her cousin, the same girl she once helped with English. The message said, "I finished my first English book today. Thanks to you." Those words touched Maria deeply. She read them again and again, feeling warmth spread across her chest. She realized that her journey was not only about her own growth, it was about inspiring others too. Reading had given her a gift, and now she was passing that gift forward. One sunny afternoon, Maria went to the park again, carrying her book in her bag. She sat under the same oak tree where she had read months before. She opened her new book and began reading, but after a few pages, she paused and looked around. Families were laughing, children were playing, birds were singing. The world felt alive. And as she watched the simple beauty of life, she realized something deeply important. Reading had taught her to slow down and appreciate the small moments. It had taught her to see beauty where she once saw routine. It had taught her to listen not only to stories, but to her own heart. She sat there quietly for a long moment, breathing slowly, feeling connected to the world in a gentle, powerful way. And then a thought came to her, something that felt true and meaningful. "Reading didn't just teach me English," she whispered. "It taught me how to live with more heart." That evening, when she returned home, she wrote a small reflection in her notebook, something she had never done before. She wrote, "Reading every day is like giving my mind a warm light. It grows quietly, but it grows. And because of that, I grow too." She closed the notebook and smiled softly, feeling a deep sense of peace. As days passed, Maria realized that becoming a lifelong reader didn't mean reading quickly or reading many books. It meant reading with presence. It meant reading with curiosity. It meant reading with heart. It meant allowing each page to teach her something about language, about life, about herself. And she understood that this journey would continue for the rest of her life, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. Reading had become her companion, her teacher, her safe place, her quiet guide, and she carried that guide with her wherever she went. This was her transformation, not loud or dramatic, but gentle, steady, and true. And the message she carried with her, the message she wished everyone could understand, was simple. Reading a little every day does not just improve your English. It improves your life. It opens your mind. It calms your heart. It strengthens your voice. It helps you grow in the softest and most beautiful ways. And with every page, you become a little more yourself. This is the journey of a lifelong reader, a journey that begins not with a big step, but with a small moment. A quiet moment. A moment when you open a book and allow it to open you. There comes a moment in every long journey when you pause, look around, and realize that the world feels different, not because the world has changed, but because you have changed. For Maria, this moment arrived on a late afternoon when the sky began to shift from blue to a soft orange, the kind of warm color that makes everything feel gentle and alive. She was walking home from work with her bag over her shoulder, feeling a kind of calm confidence she never used to feel. There was a book inside her bag. There was always a book now, and even though she was tired, She felt a quiet happiness inside her chest, like a peaceful flame that never went out. As she walked through her neighborhood, she noticed the small things: the cat sitting on the window of the bakery, watching people pass by, the old couple holding hands slowly as they crossed the street, the distant sound of a child laughing behind a fence, the wind carrying the smell of fresh bread. These were simple things, everyday things, but they felt meaningful to her because reading had taught her to see life with softer eyes, with deeper awareness, with more attention to the small stories happening all around her. When she reached her apartment and unlocked the door, the familiar quiet welcomed her. She placed her bag on the table, took off her shoes, and changed into comfortable clothes. Then she prepared a warm cup of tea and sat near the window where she always liked to read. She took the book out of her bag, opened it, and began reading where she had left off. The story she was reading now was about a young man traveling to a city he had never seen before, trying to discover who he wanted to become. As she read his thoughts, his fears, his hopes, she felt an unexpected connection. There was a moment when the character said, "Sometimes the path is not clear, but if you keep walking, you will find where it leads." Maria paused, letting the sentence echo inside her. She placed her hand gently on the page and whispered to herself, "That's true for me too." That evening, after reading, she sat quietly on her couch and let her mind wander. She thought about how much she had changed since she started reading every day. She remembered her first uncertain moments, her slow beginnings, her doubts, her challenges. She remembered how she used to feel nervous speaking English, how she used to struggle to express herself clearly, how her voice sometimes trembled when she tried to say something important. And now she felt different, stronger, calmer, more grounded. She was still learning, of course, still improving, still growing. But she no longer felt afraid of English. She no longer felt like an outsider to the language. She felt like someone walking confidently on her own path, someone who understood that slow growth is still growth, someone who believed in the power of daily practice. A week later, something unexpected happened at work. Her company announced a new project that would involve communicating with international partners. When her manager asked the team who wanted to help, there was a quiet pause. Then, to her own surprise, Maria raised her hand. Her heart beat fast, but her voice was steady. Her manager smiled, surprised but pleased. "I think you'll be great for this," he said. And in that moment, Maria realized how far she had come. She was stepping into opportunities she would have avoided before. She was trusting her voice. She was choosing growth over fear. Reading had given her language, but it had also given her courage. That night, after the long day, Maria sat under the soft glow of her lamp and opened another book. But she didn't start reading right away. She looked at the pages, the words printed neatly across them, and she thought about something she had never questioned before: why books had the power to change her so deeply. She realized it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was something simple and human. Books allowed her to slow down. Books gave her space to think, to breathe, to imagine. Books opened doors inside her mind she had never known existed. And every time she turned a page, she stepped a little further into those new spaces. Another week passed, and Maria returned to the small bookstore she loved. The owner greeted her with a warm smile. "You're becoming a regular," the woman said kindly. Maria laughed softly and replied, "I think books have become a part of my life now." The woman nodded and handed her a new arrival, a beautifully illustrated story about kindness, connection, and the simple things that bring people together. I think you'll like this one, she said. It's gentle, but it stays with you. Maria held the book and felt its soft cover, almost like holding a promise. She took it home and placed it on her desk, ready to begin the next evening. As days passed, she read this new book slowly, almost tasting each sentence, each feeling. And one evening, she came across a line that made her put the book down and close her eyes. It said, "The person you become is shaped by the stories you choose to carry." She felt those words deeply. She thought about how she had carried sadness before, carried fear, carried self-doubt, carried the belief that she wasn't good enough. But now, because of reading, she was carrying new things: patience, hope, clarity, understanding. Reading had changed what she carried inside her heart. And because of that, she was becoming a different person, not perfect, not finished, but growing every day. One afternoon, while walking through the town square, she saw something interesting. A group of people gathered around a small table near the fountain. They were discussing a book together, laughing, sharing their thoughts, exchanging ideas. Maria stopped for a moment and listened. The group welcomed her warmly and invited her to sit with them. Even though she felt shy, she joined them. They talked about characters, themes, emotions, and lessons. They talked in English, gently, slowly, and kindly. And for the first time, Maria felt truly part of a community of readers. She shared her thoughts too, nervous at first, but with growing confidence. And as she spoke, she realized that reading had not only improved her English, it had given her the courage to share her voice with others. Later that evening, when she returned home, she felt something she had not felt in a long time, a sense of belonging. She sat by her window with her book in her hands and whispered, "Maybe this is who I'm becoming. Someone who reads, someone who learns, someone who grows, someone who speaks." And she felt a small but powerful smile spread across her face. As weeks turned into months, Maria continued building her life around reading. She finished more books, helped more friends, joined more discussions, grew more confident in her English and in herself. And one day, she realized something important. Reading had become a part of her identity. It was not a task. It was not a school requirement. It was not homework. It was part of who she was. A reader, a thinker, a learner, a person who believed in slow, daily growth. Reading had become a part of her identity. It was not a task. It was not a school requirement. It was not homework. It was part of who she was. A reader, a thinker, a learner, a person who believed in slow, daily growth. And then came one final moment of quiet realization, a moment that tied everything together. She was sitting by her window late at night, the moonlight touching her room with a soft silver glow. Her book lay open on her lap, but she wasn't reading. She was simply thinking. She thought about the first day she began this journey, holding a simple English book with uncertainty. She thought about how every page she read had shaped her mind. She thought about the many moments she almost gave up, but didn't. She thought about the small joys she discovered, the quiet peace she found, the strength she built, the words she learned, and the voice she developed. And as she reflected on all of this, she whispered a soft truth to herself. Reading didn't change me in one big moment. It changed me in thousands of little ones. She closed the book, placed it gently on her desk, and breathed deeply. She felt ready for whatever came next. Ready to learn more. Ready to grow more. Ready to continue reading. Because she now understood something she wished every learner could understand. When you make reading a daily habit, You are not only improving your English, you are building the future version of yourself, slowly, gently, beautifully. And so, this chapter ends not with a goodbye, but with a beginning, because a reader's journey never truly ends. There is always another book, another page, another moment of quiet growth. Thank you so much for joining today's lesson here at JBC English Learning Academy. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment below telling me what you want to learn next. Your support helps the channel grow and helps me create more lessons for you. Take care, keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next class.